G'day, thanks for watching, and in this video I'm comparing the focal lengths 50mm versus 85mm, and once this channel reaches 500 subscribers I'm giving away a brand new Zoom H1N handy recorder. Now this will level up audio for video making for you, and you have the chance to win this simply by subscribing. Check the description for the terms. Now let's get into the video. Right, let's go. And we're talking about the 50mm versus the 85mm and which is better for you. Or maybe they're both right for you. But let's start off by talking about what applications they're both good for. Now both of these lenses are excellent for portrait work, they're great for product photography, they're excellent for event photography, they're really good in low light, mainly because of the faster apertures you'll tend to find in these lenses. They can be relatively compact and therefore quite discreet on your camera. And then in terms of the differences, I find the 50mm gives quite a natural frame, whereas the 85mm tends to introduce a little bit more character into your shots. Okay, let's talk field of view. And the 50mm is considered a more natural field of view when shooting full frame. And that's because the field of view in that case tends to replicate what the human eye can see when looking straight out of your head. Whereas the 85mm is considered more of a specialty lens because of the extra reach it gives and potentially the extra character it can have in the photos. Now you do have to remember, if you're shooting on an APS-C or crop sensor camera, to factor in the crop factor. Essentially that will turn your 50mm into an 80mm, and it will turn your 85mm into around about 135 mils. Paired together, these are both great for portrait work, but the 85mm allows you to stand off from your subject a little more. You don't have to get quite right up in their face. So for that kind of work where you do need to stand off a little bit, the 85 is perfect, but the 50 will cover the wider and the tighter ranges if you need it to. Okay, well let's talk about the optics of these lenses. They are both really great. I find the 50mm seems a little more natural and seems to light a bit more evenly across the frame, mainly because it's a little bit wider and features less spherical distortion once you're punching in. I find the 85mm tends to have a bit more vignetting, tends to have a little, and that what tends to have a little bit more vignetting, but that tends to be what introduces more character into the shot. But that being said, the 50mm tends to be a bit more sharper going out towards the edges of the frame, particularly when you stop down. Okay, let's talk about compression. There does tend to be more compression in the background on the 85mm lens, and that's because it has the extra reach, and particularly when you're shooting at wider apertures, you'll notice the effect of this more. You can still get great compression with the 50mm, but it is less pronounced than with the 85mm. So if that's something that you're looking for in your shots, then the 85mm is going to be the better one for you. Another quick note on that is if you are shooting product photography or elements of landscape photography, then the 50mm is probably going to be the better one, because you do tend to get, as I said, more sharpness towards the edge of the frame, particularly when stopped down. Now the next thing I'd like to talk about is price, and notwithstanding the God L lenses that will cost you thousands of dollars no matter which one you're looking at, you'll tend to be able to find a 50mm, particularly the 1.8, at a very cheap price. It's known as the Nifty 50. It's one of the most versatile lenses there is. It's like recommended as the first lens you should get after your kit lens. Right here, the 50mm. And not only that, it gives you all of the benefits of the out of focus background, the subject separation, all of those things that you're looking for in the more expensive lenses, and a really cheap accessible package. The 85mm are a little dearer, of course. They tend to have more glass in them, and they also have a little bit more engineering involved in them. But you can still get second-hand copies pretty inexpensive. Particularly this one here, the Canon EF 85mm f1.8. You can pretty much get this second-hand for the price of a brand new Nifty 50, maybe a few more dollars on top. Okay, and the last point I want to cover in this video, and it's probably something you haven't thought about right up until this moment. If you did, let me know in the comments below, because I certainly didn't when I was buying these lenses, and that is the minimum focusing distance. Now this is really relevant, because I had a 50mm and I ended up buying the 85mm so I could have better reach at close range, but in actual fact, because of the minimum focusing distance, I had to stand twice as far back in order to get the closest possible shot, and that resulted in a wider frame on the 85mm than it did on the 50mm at close range. Okay, let me explain more. The minimum focusing distance on this 50mm here is 43 centimeters. That means to say you can get 43 centimeters away from your subject before you're able to focus with this lens and take the shot. But with the 85mm, the minimum focusing distance on this one here is 85 centimeters, which means you have to have the lens almost twice as far back from the subject as you do with the 50mm, and so it actually ends up with you having a wider frame with the tighter lens than what you do with the wider lens. So it's a bit of a head scratcher when that happens. But the point of this is that you only get the benefit of the extra reach downrange outside of the minimum focusing distances of both these lenses. Now, if you look to Canon's new RF 85mm f2, that is a macro lens 2:1. So it has a much closer minimum focusing distance. So in that case, you're going to be able to punch in, get much better reach at close range than you would if the lens didn't have the macro capability. So that is something to consider. The fact you can now get an 85mm with that macro capability means that it also covers the focal range that the 50mm would offer you in those same situations. Okay, so I'm about to end the video of my preference, but out of everything I talked about, remember the minimum focusing distance. The minimum focusing distance, that is probably the one point that's going to have the biggest impact on how these two lenses perform for you, particularly at close range. Okay, so now my preference between the 50mm and the 85mm. I really love shooting with the 85mm because of the character it gets, the extra reach it has, the ability to stand off from your subject a little bit more, and the spherical compression or the spherical distortion, the vignetting, the slight dropping out of focus towards the edge of the frame tends to hone in on the focal point, so that's really, really great. I find I don't use the 50mm so much. It mainly sits in my bag or sits on the shelf. But I tell you what, I would not be a photographer without owning a 50mm. So yeah, I guess to conclude, if you're looking to see which one of these lenses to get first, you're probably going to want the 50mm because you really should always have a 50mm. Ask any photographer, they're mostly going to tell you to get a 50mm. But the fact that the 85 has more character, more reach, better out of focus background, better subject separation, better performance downrange, and the fact that macro versions are now being released, which offers you closer focusing distance, essentially covering the focal range of the 50mm, means that the 85mm is a really, really good option. Hey, I'm not sure if that helped actually separate the two. My advice is probably, over time, get both. Hey, thanks a lot for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win a brand new Zoom H1N handy recorder when this channel reaches 500 subscribers. If you found this video interesting or got anything out of it, please hit the like button. And also, I'd really be interested to hear from you in a comment below which of the two lenses you think is better and which one you think you might get next. Anyway, thanks again, have a good one, stay safe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye!